It was a Tuesday morning, and the bank was alive with its usual rhythm. The sun poured through the large windows, casting a golden glow across the polished floors. Customers moved in and out, some chatting with the tellers, others sitting in the waiting area, flipping through magazines or scrolling on their phones. I was at my usual spot behind the counter, helping people with their deposits, withdrawals, and questions. It felt like any other day, routine, predictable, and calm, but that calm was shattered the moment he walked in. He was a tall black man, maybe in his late 30s or early 40s, with a strong build and a quiet presence. He wasn't dressed in a suit or anything fancy, just simple jeans, a plain white t-shirt, and a pair of sneakers. He looked like an ordinary guy, the kind of person you might pass on the street without a second thought. But there was something about him, a calm confidence, a stillness that made you notice him, even in a crowded room. He stood patiently in line, his hands in his pockets, waiting his turn. I didn't think much of him at first. Just another customer, I told myself. But then, something happened that I'll never forget. One of my coworkers, Sarah, was at the front desk. She's usually cheerful and helpful, always greeting customers with a smile and a friendly tone. But that day, she seemed off. Maybe she was tired, or maybe she was just having a bad morning. Whatever it was, when the man stepped up to her, she gave him a quick, dismissive glance and said, "Can I help you?" in a tone that felt cold, distant. Like she didn't really want to be bothered. The man didn't seem to notice, or if he did, he didn't let it show. He smiled politely and said, "Yes, I'd like to speak to the manager about opening an account." Sarah hesitated. She glanced around the room, her eyes darting from one corner to another, as if she were looking for an excuse. Then she said, "I'm not sure the manager is available right now. Maybe you should try another branch." My heart sank. That didn't sound right. The manager, Mr. Thompson, was definitely in his office. I'd just seen him walk in there a few minutes ago. Why was Sarah turning this man away? I felt a knot of unease tighten in my chest. Something about the situation felt wrong, but I wasn't sure what to do. Should I say something? Should I stay quiet? My mind raced as I tried to figure out the right thing to do. The man didn't argue. He just nodded and said, "Okay, thank you." But as he turned to leave, something inside me snapped. I couldn't just stand there and do nothing. "Wait," I called out, stepping around the counter. My voice was louder than I intended, and a few customers turned to look at me. "I can help you. Let me get the manager." Sarah shot me a sharp look, her eyes narrowing as if to say, "What are you doing?" But I ignored her. I walked over to Mr. Thompson's office and knocked on the door. "There's a gentleman here who wants to open an account," I said. Mr. Thompson came out, his usual professional smile in place. "Of course, sir," he said, extending a hand to the man. "Let's sit down and discuss your needs." The man smiled again, but this time it was different. There was something in his eyes, a quiet confidence, a knowing look that made me wonder if there was more to him than met the eye. He followed Mr. Thompson to his office, and I went back to my station, my heart still racing. I couldn't shake the feeling that something big was about to happen. About 20 minutes later, Mr. Thompson came out of his office, looking pale and shaken. He called all of us into the meeting room. "Everyone, I need to tell you something," he said, his voice trembling. "That man who just left. He's not just any customer. He's the owner of this bank. He was here on a secret inspection." The room fell silent. You could have heard a pin drop. My stomach churned as I processed his words. Sarah looked like she was about to cry. "I didn't know," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I didn't know." Mr. Thompson sighed heavily. He said he wanted to see how we treat people. All people. And he wasn't happy with what he saw. I felt a lump rise in my throat. I thought about how Sarah had treated him, how she'd tried to send him away without even checking if the manager was available. I thought about how I'd almost stayed silent, how I'd almost let it happen. But I also thought about how I'd stepped in, how I'd tried to do the right thing, even though it wasn't my place. My hands were trembling as I gripped the edge of the table, trying to steady myself. Later that day, the owner came back. This time he was dressed in a sharp, tailored suit, and everyone knew exactly who he was. He called another meeting and spoke to all of us. "A bank isn't just about money," he said, his voice firm but calm. "It's about people. It's about trust. And today I saw that some of you don't understand that. He looked directly at Sarah, then at me. But I also saw someone who did the right thing, he said, nodding in my direction. That gives me hope. Sarah was let go that afternoon. It was hard to watch her pack up her things and leave. She looked so small, so defeated. I wanted to say something, to tell her I was sorry, but the words stuck in my throat. I knew why it had to happen, but it didn't make it any easier. Before he left, the owner shook my hand. "Thank you," he said, his grip firm and steady. "You reminded me why I started this bank in the first place." That day changed me. It made me realize how important it is to treat everyone with respect, no matter who they are or how they look. It reminded me that doing the right thing isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. And it taught me that sometimes, the quietest people in the room are the ones who hold the most power. Hey everyone, if this story moved you, if it made you think, or if it reminded you why we need to keep having these conversations, please take a moment to like this video. It really helps spread awareness. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below. Have you ever witnessed or experienced something like this? Let's talk about it. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be told, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're here to share real, powerful stories that need to be heard. Lastly, share this with your friends and family. The more people who see this, the more we can bring awareness and change. Thank you for watching and being part of this journey. Let's keep pushing forward, together.